The Ignored World. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with the usual politics of 1,000 worlds. Ambassador Kren of the Blue Star Empire shuffled through his reports, barely glancing at the small notation about a planet called Earth. The third rock from a yellow star in the outer rim held no interest for the advanced civilizations that rule the galaxy. Another primitive world, Kren muttered, marking Earth's application for contact as pending indefinitely. The humans had only recently discovered faster-than-light travel, their crude ships barely capable of reaching their nearest neighbors. Why waste time on such backwards creatures? Commander Voss from the Military Council agreed. They have no valuable resources we need. Their technology is centuries behind ours. Let them play in their small corner of space. The decision was unanimous. Earth would remain ignored, just another insignificant dot in the vast cosmic bureaucracy. Meanwhile, Captain Jack Miller guided his small exploration vessel through the void, unaware that his species had been dismissed by powers beyond his imagination. His crew of 12 humans had volunteered for the deep space mission, pushing their ship to its limits as they mapped unknown star systems. They were alone out here, or so they believed. The first sign of trouble came when their sensors detected massive energy signatures approaching from 3 different directions. Jack's communication officer, Lieutenant Amy Stone, tried to establish contact, but received only silence. The ships that emerged from hyperspace were unlike anything in human databases, sleek, powerful, and clearly hostile. "Unknown vessels, you are in violation of Dominion space," came the transmission in perfect English. The voice belonged to War Commander Thane, whose reptilian features showed nothing but contempt as he studied the primitive human ship on his screen. "Surrender immediately or be destroyed." Jack had no intention of surrendering. "All hands, battle stations," he ordered, knowing their small vessel stood no chance against the 3 massive warships surrounding them. But humans had never been ones to give up without a fight. The battle lasted only minutes, but it changed everything. The human ship, impossibly, began to adapt to the alien weapons. Their shields held longer than they should have. Their returned fire, while weak, targeted the exact weak points in the alien ship's defenses. Most shocking of all, when the humans' main weapon systems failed, they improvised with mining charges and maintenance tools, turning their civilian equipment into weapons of war. War Commander Thane watched in growing alarm as his 3 ships struggled against one tiny human vessel. His warriors, veterans of countless battles, found themselves outmaneuvered by these unknown aliens who seemed to learn and adapt with impossible speed. When the humans managed to disable one of his ships using nothing but a modified industrial laser, Thane realized he was facing something unprecedented. The battle ended when Jack's ship, heavily damaged but still fighting, received an unexpected transmission. "Human vessel, this is Fleet Admiral Rex of the Terran Defense Force. Reinforcements are en route." The horizon filled with human ships, dozens of them, all converging on the battle site with military precision. Thane had never heard of any Terran Defense Force, but the sight of so many human vessels appearing simultaneously made his blood run cold. Intelligence had reported only a handful of human ships in known space. Where had this fleet come from? The truth was simpler than Thane could have imagined. Humanity had not been idle during their years of cosmic isolation. While the Galactic Council debated and dismissed them, humans had been doing what they did best: adapting, learning, and preparing. Every ship, every weapon, every strategy had been designed with one principle in mind. They were alone in a hostile universe, and they would survive. Admiral Rex's flagship moved into position, its weapons powered but not yet firing. "Alien vessels, you attacked our people without provocation. You have 10 seconds to explain yourselves before we respond in kind." His voice carried the calm authority of someone who had prepared for this moment his entire life. War Commander Thane found himself in an impossible position. His intelligence reports had been completely wrong. These humans were not primitive at all. They were something far more dangerous. They were a species that had assumed they would have to fight for their very survival, and had prepared accordingly. As he prepared to respond to Admiral Rex's ultimatum, Thane realized that the Galactic Council had made a terrible mistake. They had ignored Earth not because it was weak, but because they had never bothered to look closely enough to see what humanity really was. Now, as he stared at the growing human fleet, he understood that this oversight might doom them all. The communication from his ship to Dominion Command was brief, but urgent. Priority alert. Unknown species designation human represents immediate threat. Request full military assessment. Previous intelligence completely inaccurate. Recommend immediate council notification. The age of ignoring Earth was about to end. The Council's awakening. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had never been called so quickly. Ambassador Kren stood before the massive assembly, his hands shaking as he read the reports flooding in from across the galaxy. What had started as a single incident with War Commander Thane had become something much larger and more terrifying. The humans are everywhere, Kren announced to the shocked silence of 1,000 representatives. Our scouts report human ships in the Outer Rim, the dead zones, even in systems we thought were empty. They have been watching us for decades. High Chancellor Mora of the Central Worlds leaned forward in her floating chair. She had ruled for 3 centuries and had never seen such fear in the council chambers. How is this possible? Our intelligence networks are the finest in the galaxy. How did an entire species hide from us? The answer came from General Brix, the council's top military advisor. His 4 arms gestured to the holographic displays, showing human ship movements across known space. They did not hide from us, Chancellor. We simply never looked. While we focused on our politics and trade wars, the humans were building something we have never seen before. The displays showed the truth that made even the bravest council members uncomfortable. Human ships were not just scattered randomly through space. They were positioned with perfect strategic precision. Every major trade route, every military checkpoint, every important system had human vessels nearby, watching and waiting. They have been studying us, General Brix continued. Every ship design, every weapon system, every military tactic we have used in the past 50 years. The humans have recorded it all. Dr. Lynn Torres, the human scientist who had been captured during the first battle, sat in the council's detention center, calmly answering questions. Her interrogator, Intelligence Chief Xander, had expected a primitive alien. Instead, he found himself facing someone who seemed to know more about galactic politics than most council members. Your people made a mistake, Dr. Torres said simply. You assumed that because we were quiet, we were weak. You thought that because we did not contact you immediately, we were not worth your attention. But humans learn by watching first. Chief Xander studied the human female. She showed no fear, no anger, only a calm certainty that unsettled him. What do your people want? Territory, resources, tribute. Dr. Torres smiled, and that smile made Xander's blood run cold. We want what every species wants, to survive. The difference is, we assumed from the beginning that you would try to stop us. Back in the council chambers, the reports continued to pour in. Human colonies had been discovered in systems that surveys had marked as uninhabitable. Human mining operations were found in asteroid fields that were supposedly empty. Most disturbing of all, human research stations were detected near the borders of every major galactic power. They have been preparing for war with all of us, General Brix concluded. Not with any one species, but with the entire galaxy. Every human ship, every human base, every human weapon has been designed to fight multiple enemies at once. War Commander Thane appeared via hologram to address the council. His reptilian features still showed the shock of his encounter with the human fleet. Honorable council members, I have fought in over 200 battles across 40 star systems. I have never encountered anything like these humans. Explain, demanded High Chancellor Mora. They do not fight like us, Thane said. We use overwhelming force, superior technology, established tactics. The humans use everything. Their civilian ships become weapons. Their mining equipment becomes military hardware. Their scientists become soldiers. They do not have a military. Their entire species is their military. The revelation that terrified the Council most came from the intelligence analysis. Humans had not developed their technology in the normal way. Instead of focusing on one area like most species, they had deliberately created tools and systems that could serve multiple purposes. A human cargo ship could become a troop transport. A human research station could become a military base. A human colony could become a fortress. They built their entire civilization expecting to be attacked, reported Chief Analyst Vale. Every human settlement can defend itself. Every human ship can fight. Every human citizen has basic military training. They are not just a species. They are an army that happens to live on planets. Admiral Rex's face appeared on the main display, his transmission reaching the Council chambers from his flagship. His words were calm but carried an unmistakable threat. Galactic Council, humanity requests formal recognition and a seat at your table. We have waited long enough to be acknowledged. High Chancellor Mora looked around at the 1,000 faces filled with fear and uncertainty. The humans were not asking for permission anymore. They were demanding recognition as equals, and they had the power to enforce that demand. "What happens if we refuse?" she asked. Admiral Rex's expression did not change. "Then you will discover what we have been preparing for all these years. The test of strength." The decision came down to a vote that would reshape the galaxy. High Chancellor Mora called for order as representatives from 1,000 worlds debated humanity's demand for recognition. The chamber split into 3 factions: those who wanted to negotiate, those who wanted to fight, and those who simply wanted the humans to disappear. War Commander Thane stood before the military council, his report still echoing in their minds. "We cannot win a conventional war against them," he stated bluntly. "But we must test their resolve. If we show weakness now, every minor species in the galaxy will think they can make similar demands." General Briggs agreed, but his reasoning was different. "We need to see their full capabilities. The humans have shown us glimpses, but we must know what we are truly dealing with. A limited engagement will give us the intelligence we need." The test came in the form of a blockade. The Council's combined fleet, representing 12 major galactic powers, moved to surround the Sol system. 200 of the galaxy's most advanced warships took position around Earth's solar system, cutting off all human traffic and communications. Fleet Admiral Marcus Webb received the ultimatum aboard his command ship, the Defiance, as it patrolled the outer edges of the Sol system. The message was simple: humanity will submit to Council authority and accept protectorate status, or face the consequences of defying the established galactic order. Admiral Webb was a veteran of humanity's preparation years, the decades when Earth had frantically built its defenses while remaining hidden from galactic attention. He had helped design the very strategies now being put to the ultimate test. His response to the Council fleet was equally simple: no. The siege of Sol began with the Council forces expecting a quick victory. Intelligence suggested humans had perhaps 50 ships capable of deep space combat. The reality became clear within hours when over 300 human vessels emerged from hiding spots throughout the solar system. Captain Sarah Kim commanded one of the human patrol groups, her small squadron of 6 ships facing down a Council battle group of 20 vessels. Her ships looked tiny compared to the alien dreadnoughts, but appearances had always been deceiving when it came to human military design. "Remember your training," she broadcast to her squadron. "They built their ships to intimidate. We built ours to win." Her vessels spread out in a formation that seemed random to the alien commanders, but followed principles developed through decades of preparation for exactly this scenario. The first exchange of fire revealed the fundamental difference between human and galactic military thinking. The Council ships used massive energy weapons designed to destroy targets with overwhelming power. The human ships used smaller, more precise weapons designed to disable specific systems while avoiding complete destruction. War Commander Thane watched from his flagship as human tactics unfolded across the battlefield. The humans did not try to match the Council's firepower. Instead, they used the Council's own strength against them. Heavy alien weapons meant to destroy planets were turned against other Council ships when humans used precise attacks to redirect their targeting systems. "They are making us fight ourselves," Thane reported in growing alarm. Within 3 hours of battle, more Council ships had been damaged by friendly fire than by direct human attack. The humans had turned the siege into a lesson in their own tactical superiority. But the real shock came when the Council forces discovered they were not just fighting the human fleet. Every asteroid in the solar system, every space station, every seemingly civilian installation began to reveal hidden weapons and defensive systems. The humans had turned their entire solar system into a fortress. Dr. Lynn Torres, still held in Council custody, watched the battle reports with calm satisfaction. Her interrogator, Chief Sander, stared at the displays in disbelief. "How long have you been preparing for this?" "Since the day we first detected alien signals," she answered. "About 80 years ago. Every human child learns basic military tactics in school. Every human engineer designs with defense in mind. Every human leader plans for the day when we would have to prove we deserve to exist." The siege lasted 6 days. By the end, the Council's combined fleet had lost 37 ships and had hundreds more damage. The human fleet had lost 12 vessels, but each loss had cost the Council forces dearly. More importantly, the humans had demonstrated something that terrified the galactic powers. Admiral Webb's final transmission to the Council fleet was broadcast across the galaxy. "You came here to test our strength. You have your answer. We did not seek this conflict, but we were ready for it. We have been ready for 80 years. The question now is whether you are ready for what comes next." The withdrawal of Council forces from Sol marked the end of the siege, but not the end of the crisis. Across the galaxy, other species watched the reports and reached their own conclusions. If humans could stand against the combined might of the Council's greatest powers, what did that mean for the balance of power that had kept the galaxy stable for centuries? High Chancellor Mora called for an emergency session as reports flooded in of unrest across dozens of worlds. The test of humanity's strength had become a test of the Council's authority, and the results were not what anyone had expected. The galaxy awakens. The aftermath of the Sol siege sent shockwaves through every corner of the galaxy. On mining worlds and agricultural colonies, species that had been under Council protection for generations began asking uncomfortable questions. If humans could defy the galactic order and win, why couldn't they? Ambassador Kren found himself facing a crisis he had never imagined. His homeworld, once a loyal Council member, was now demanding answers. "How did you miss an entire species preparing for war?" asked Governor Talon during the emergency planetary assembly. "What else have you missed?" The rebellion started small. The Mineral Workers Union on Kepler 442 bits refused to meet Council production quotas. 3 agricultural worlds in the Vega sector declared independence from their Council-appointed governors. A dozen trading vessels began ignoring established shipping routes and tariffs. But it was the message from Captain Elena Vasquez that truly changed everything. Her human diplomatic vessel appeared simultaneously in the capital systems of 47 different species, broadcasting the same transmission to each one. "People of the galaxy," Captain Vasquez began, her image appearing on screens across thousands of worlds. "We are humanity, and we extend our hand in friendship to any who seek freedom from those who would control your destiny." The message was simple but revolutionary. Humans were not just defending themselves. They were offering an alternative to Council rule. Within days, formal diplomatic contact had been established between Earth and dozens of species that had never dared to challenge the established order. Chief Analyst Vale presented his report to an increasingly desperate Council leadership. "The humans are not trying to conquer territory or demand tribute," he explained. "They are offering something far more dangerous. They are showing other species that the Council can be defied." High Chancellor Mora studied the intelligence reports with growing alarm. Human diplomatic missions were spreading across the galaxy, but they were not following normal protocols. Instead of negotiating with governments, they were speaking directly to populations, offering trade agreements, mutual defense pacts, and technological exchanges. They are building their own council, General Bricks realized, a competing power structure based on voluntary association rather than imposed authority. The truth was even more disturbing than the general suspected. Professor David Chen, leading humanities diplomatic corps, had spent decades studying galactic politics and had identified the Council's fundamental weakness. The galactic government ruled through fear and dependency, but offered little in return for loyalty. Humans offered something different. Their technology, developed through decades of necessity and innovation, was more practical and efficient than Council alternatives. Their military tactics, proven in the Sol siege, were more effective than traditional approaches. Most importantly, their philosophy of mutual cooperation appealed to species tired of being told what they could and could not do. The breaking point came when the Arcturus Mining Consortium, one of the galaxy's largest economic powers, announced they were withdrawing from Council oversight and establishing trade agreements with both humans and 12 other independent species. War Commander Thane received new orders that made his warriors' blood run cold. Destroy the human diplomatic missions. Make examples of any species that supports them. Show the galaxy the cost of defying Council authority. But Thane had fought humans before. He knew what they were capable of when cornered. High Chancellor, he reported, if we attack human diplomatic missions, we will not be fighting scattered ships or isolated colonies. We will be fighting every species they have allied with, and we will be fighting them on their terms. The prediction proved accurate when Council forces moved against a human diplomatic station in the Centauri sector. The station was defended not just by human ships, but by vessels from 8 different species, all coordinating their defense using human tactical principles. The battle was a disaster for Council forces. The mixed fleet of human and allied vessels used strategies that no single species had ever employed. Alien ships with human tactical advisors fought alongside human vessels crewed by mixed species crews. The result was a fighting force that combined the best technologies and tactics from multiple civilizations. Dr. Lynn Torres, finally released from Council custody as part of prisoner exchanges, returned to Earth with detailed intelligence about Council capabilities and weaknesses. Her report to Admiral Webb was both encouraging and sobering. They are stronger than us in raw numbers and individual ship power, she concluded, but they have forgotten how to adapt. They have been the dominant power for so long that they fight the same way against every enemy. We have been adapting to fight them our entire history. Admiral Webb nodded grimly. The question is whether we can build our alliance fast enough. The Council will not accept this challenge to their authority. They will come for us with everything they have. Across the galaxy, the lines were being drawn. On one side stood the established Galactic Council with its massive fleets and ancient authority. On the other side, a growing alliance of species united not by fear, but by the human promise that there was another way to live among the stars. The age of Council dominance was ending, but what would replace it remained to be seen. The new galactic order. The final confrontation came not as a single battle, but as a choice that would define the future of galactic civilization. High Chancellor Mora stood before the largest gathering of Council forces in galactic history. Over 1,000 ships from every major power assembled to crush the human-led alliance once and for all. But as the massive fleet prepared to launch its campaign, reports arrived that changed everything. The alliance had grown beyond anyone's expectations. What had started as a few dozen rebellious worlds had become a coalition of over 300 species, all united under the principles that humanity had offered: voluntary cooperation, mutual defense, and the right to determine their own destinies. Admiral Webb received the Council's ultimatum aboard his flagship, now accompanied by vessels from dozens of allied worlds. The message was clear: surrender immediately, or face the full military might of the established galactic order. His response was broadcast across the galaxy, reaching every world, every species, every being capable of receiving the transmission. To the people of the galaxy, Admiral Webb began, we stand at a crossroads. You can choose to bow to those who rule through fear, or you can join us in building something better. The war that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. It was not fought between armies or fleets, but between two visions of how civilizations should relate to each other. The Council fought to preserve the old order of dominance and submission. The Alliance fought for the new order of cooperation and mutual respect. Captain Sarah Kim, now commanding a mixed fleet of human and allied vessels, found herself facing War Commander Thane's forces in what would become known as the Battle of the Spiral Arm. Both commanders had learned from their previous encounters, but only one of them had continued to evolve. Your people fight well, Thane transmitted to Captain Kim as their fleets maneuvered for position. But this ends today. The Council has deployed everything. We will not be defeated by inferior numbers again. Captain Kim's response reflected the confidence that had carried humanity through decades of preparation. Commander, you still don't understand. We're not trying to defeat you. We're trying to show you there's another way. The battle revealed the true nature of the human strategy. Instead of seeking to destroy Council forces, the Alliance worked to disable and capture them. Human technology, refined through decades of necessity, proved capable of neutralizing alien weapons without causing massive casualties. More importantly, captured Council personnel were treated as prisoners of war rather than enemies to be eliminated. The turning point came when Dr. Lynn Torres, now serving as the Alliance's chief diplomat, established communication with Council crews during the battle. Her message was simple but powerful. You don't have to die for leaders who see you as expendable. There's a place for you in what we're building. Defections began slowly, then accelerated. Council ships found themselves fighting alongside former allies who had switched sides. The carefully planned assault became a chaotic retreat as unit after unit realized they were fighting for a cause that offered them nothing but more war. War Commander Thane, his own fleet reduced to a handful of loyal vessels, faced the ultimate choice. He could fight to the death for the Council's vision of galactic order, or he could accept the Alliance's offer of a new beginning. His decision surprised even himself. Alliance Fleet, this is War Commander Thane. I request permission to discuss terms. The negotiations that followed established the framework for what would become known as the Galactic Cooperative. Unlike the old Council, which ruled through imposed authority, the cooperative operated on principles of voluntary membership and mutual benefit. Species could join or leave as they chose. Decisions were made through consensus rather than decree. High Chancellor Mora, faced with the collapse of everything she had known, made her own choice. Rather than flee or continue fighting, she chose to join the cooperative as a representative of the traditional Council worlds that were willing to embrace change. Perhaps, she said during her first address to the Cooperative Assembly, we were so focused on maintaining order that we forgot why order matters. It should serve the people, not the other way around. Admiral Webb, now serving as humanity's representative to the cooperative, reflected on the long journey from Earth's isolation to galactic leadership. We never wanted to conquer anyone, he said in his memoir years later. We just wanted to survive. But in preparing to survive, we accidentally prepared to lead. The galaxy that emerged from the conflict was vastly different from what had come before. Trade flourished between worlds that had previously been isolated. Technology advanced rapidly as species shared knowledge freely. Conflicts were resolved through negotiation rather than force. But perhaps most importantly, the new galactic order was built on a foundation that humans had always understood, that the greatest strength comes not from dominating others, but from inspiring them to stand with you by choice. The Council had ignored Earth's place in the galaxy, dismissing humanity as insignificant. Their fear, when it finally came, was not of human weapons or technology, but of human ideas, ideas that proved more powerful than any fleet, more lasting than any conquest, and more threatening to the old order than any force in the galaxy. Earth's children had found their place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as liberators.